Good afternoon and welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you are here with us for day 3 of NACDD's annual online conference. Thank you so much for being with us. And today we have a great program for you. It is our Champions of Equal Opportunity Awards, followed by our Self-Advocacy panel. So again, thank you for joining us today. And I hope you will really enjoy the presentation we have for you. Those of you who have attended this event in the past know that this session is actually my favorite part of our annual conference, and it doesn't matter whether we're in person or we are virtual like we need to be this year. It is still such a wonderful opportunity because this is when we get to honor and celebrate so many wonderful people who dedicate their lives and their careers to making our world a better place for all. None of us does advocacy work in a vacuum. It takes people working together in partnership to get it done. As many of you know, NACDD has developed a wonderful partnership with a company called Optum. Optum is a company that helps modernize the health system's infrastructure, advances care, and empowers individuals as they take control of their own health. They work with state and local government partners to make the healthcare system better for everyone, specializing in solutions for those with developmental disabilities and behavioral health needs, ensuring community involvement and person-centered supports. Optum is fortunate to have on its team Dan Oler, and I know many of you over the years have had an opportunity to meet Dan in person, as he usually attends our annual conference. Dan is the Vice President for Business Development for Optum, and he has a true passion for finding ways to support people with IDD and their families and their caregivers. And he goes to great strides to ensure that Optum is there to create solutions that improve the health and well-being of people with IDD and help them to live their best life in the community. Optum, with Dan's support, continues to renew his commitment to working with NACDD on materials that support self-advocacy and peer-to-peer training. In fact, just 2 weeks ago in the state of North Carolina, with Optum's support, we graduated the first class of trained self-advocates who will now go on to work professionally supporting other people with IDD to live their best life in the community. Thanks to the North Carolina DD Council, Community Bridges Consulting Group, and many others, we now have the template for employing trained advocates with lived experience to support their own peers in paid positions. That was the vision of Optum. Finally, and most relevant for today, Optum continues to support our Self-Advocate Leadership Circle. Optum is the sponsor of today's award ceremony and induction of 4 self-advocates to our Self-Advocate Leadership Circle. We'll get to that ceremony in just a moment. Dan Oler was unable to be with us in person today because he is driving in the car from one state to another state. However, Dan was able to make a video that I'd like to share with you now.
Thank you, Donna, for that introduction. My name is Dan Oler with Optum, and it's our honor and privilege to be affiliated with NACDD in sponsorship of the 2021 Champions of Equal Opportunity Awards ceremony. On behalf of all of my colleagues, we want to extend our congratulations to Michigan's Sarah Carmody, recipient of the Betty Williams Champion of Equal Opportunity Award, and to Alaska's Jenna Grafton, recipient of this year's April Dunn Start Your Journey Award. We also extend our congratulations to Anna Perning and Tariq Khan from Philadelphia, who will be recognized with the National Advocacy Leadership Awards. Without any exception, it's my belief that this award ceremony is the most important and certainly the most powerful part of NACD's annual conference. It's certainly the thing that I miss the most about our pandemic-induced state that causes us to have to get together virtually and not in person. Because these are the stories that really matter. These are really about people that have made an impact not just on their own lives, but on the lives of many others. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to have lunch with Betty Williams when she was being recognized. And as powerful and as important as Betty's words were, I was also impacted by the words of those that were sitting around the table, the people from Indiana who worked with Betty, who knew Betty, and the impact that she had on so very many people, an impact that continues to be felt today. And these are stories that are shared by many that are part of the NACD Leadership Circle. If you haven't had the opportunity to read The Art of Impact, I would encourage you to do so. Go to the internet, check out startyourjourney.org, and read the stories of people like Santa Perez and Eric Stoker. Very powerful messages of people who you share this award, but also have shared their stories of self-advocacy. And that's why it's so important for an organization like ours, as we talk about people taking more ownership of their own health and wellness, that we like to be engaged in efforts such as this one that are about real people and their everyday life and the impact that they make. I hope so much that in 2022 that we have the opportunity to be back together again in person. And as I say that, I want to be thankful for the opportunity that we do have the ability to meet in this manner. While we would prefer to be together in person, at least technology enables us to have the opportunity to still celebrate virtually. I do apologize that I'm giving you a video recorded message. As you're watching this, I'm somewhere on the Pennsylvania Turnpike between Bethlehem and Philadelphia, which is maybe just a little bit ironic given that two of our award winners today are from that Philadelphia area. I guess maybe a little further irony, I see that Sarah again is from Michigan, and I'm recording this message actually in Grand Rapids. And just wanted to kind of share those things with you as to why I'm not presenting this session live. I didn't think it would come across very well on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. But again, really appreciate the opportunity to share a few words with you today. Sarah and Jenna, congratulations. Fantastic accomplishment. I trust that your friends and colleagues in Michigan and Alaska are going to have a big celebration for you that you so greatly deserve. And I hope I have a chance to meet you at next year's conference. For everyone that's involved in this award ceremony, thank you for participating. I know you join me in congratulating all of our award winners. Donna, again, thanks for the opportunity. We'll see everybody in 2022.
What a great message from Dan. Dan, you did a great job, even from the Pennsylvania Turnpike. We truly at NACDD are grateful for Dan and his vision and his inspiration that has brought so many great opportunities forward for people with IDD. Dan talked a little bit about the Self-Advocate Leadership Circle. For those of you who are not familiar with our Self-Advocate Leadership Circle, or SALC, it was established in 2014 at this very conference. The purpose of the circle was to create an entry point for many highly talented self-advocates identified by DD councils to become more involved in the work of NACDD. As a national organization, we want to be sure that the voice of those who live with IDD is included in every aspect of our work. All too often, we would usually find ourselves saying, we have these committees, we have work groups. Where are people with lived experience? Where are individuals with IDD? We need them to be part of these groups. And so therefore, we established this circle where we now have a ready group of highly qualified and available voices to join every committee and group within NACDD to ensure a strong advocate voice. Over the past several years, folks from the SALC have helped us to write The Art of Impact, that book that Dan just talked about, to serve on our Public Policy and Member Services Committee, and on the committee which plans our annual conference, on our Strategic Planning Committee, and on our Board of Directors. Several self-advocates worked with us to write grant opportunities, and many participate in our Self-Advocacy Committee and every other opportunity that comes along. We are truly embodying nothing about us without us. The SALC is not a standalone. It works together in unison with everything that we do at NACDD. So As you see on the screen, we have quite a robust group of individuals who, over the years since 2014, have joined our Self-Advocacy Leadership Circle. They were each nominated by their own DD Council. You may see names that are familiar. Sadly, I need to tell you that we have lost several along the way. You heard Dan mention Betty Williams of Indiana. She was one of our honorees a few years ago for this very award, and sadly, Betty passed away. We also sadly lost April Dunn a little over a year ago due to COVID. April is from Louisiana and was also a recipient of one of the awards that we are about to honor somebody with today. And then there is one more who just this week, we lost Adonis Brown, an incredible advocate from the state of North Carolina. And most recently, actually, he was working in Missouri. Adonis Brown was one of our original Self-Advocate Circle leaders. He worked for his DD Council in North Carolina, served on our national board, and served on our strategic planning committee. He is going to be deeply missed, along with Betty and with April. I'm sorry to have to bring forward that sad note, but it is something that's very important. And it is why we have named our awards in memory of some of these individuals. We hope that it provides leadership and inspiration to carry on in their memory. Today, I am privileged to be able to induct 4 new people into our Self-Advocate Leadership Circle. We have our 2 awardees for today, Sarah Carmody of Michigan and Jenna Crafton of Alaska. And we also welcome in Anna Atla from Alaska and Devin Williams from Oklahoma. To the 4 of you, here is what I would like to say. We hereby induct you into our Self-Advocate Leadership Circle and ask that you take this role seriously and will work as part of your DD Council and or your greater community to enhance and improve all aspects of the NACDD agenda by ensuring that the voice and talents of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities is an equal part of all we do. We need you to hold us accountable, and we want you to be engaged at every level of our national organization. Congratulations to you all. We can't wait to see what great things you will do this year. Now, on with our awards ceremony. To make the first presentation, I now invite Renee Hall of the Michigan DD Council to present our Betty Williams Award to Sarah Carmody. The floor is yours, Renee.
Thanks, Donna. It is an absolute privilege to be Sarah's advisor and to be able to introduce her today. Sarah's engagement with her self-advocacy efforts is unparalleled. Her ability to share information throughout her network includes and engages advocates on a local level and throughout the entire state of Michigan. But Sarah's efforts don't really stop there. She's active on a national and a global level as well. Not a day goes by when our network doesn't get emails talking about her amazing connections and things that she's sharing and spreading with the advocates in our state. Her resilience and perseverance, her tenacity, they all contribute to this amazingly powerful identity she's created for herself. When you talk with Sarah, she says she's a self-advocate. And I cannot think of a better, more deserving recipient of the Betty Williams Champion of Equal Opportunity Award. Congratulations, Sarah. Well done. Well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you, Renee, for introducing me. I couldn't have done it without my Self-Advocates of Michigan group back in Michigan, and I think the award, I'm going to read my 2-minute speech. Getting this Betty Williams Champion of Equal Opportunity Award is important to me because self-advocates need to be more persistent when it comes to fighting for issues that are important to them. I think more self advocates with disabilities need to be more in the driver's seat when it comes to issues that face persons with disabilities because we know how the issues affect our lives. We can give personal stories to our lawmakers, which shows how issues affect our lives. Personally, I like so many other people want to see persons with disabilities be more included within the community in which they live and be independent and more self-determined and living life to the fullest and moving forward, not backwards or sitting on the sideline and watching the world around them progress and the disabled community falling far behind. Um, and that's my speech for today. Thank you, and I'm done.
Sarah, thank you so much for those beautiful words. I just love hearing you talk about your passion for your advocacy. I know you've done some incredible work with the DD Council in Michigan, and I'm thrilled that the council nominated you for this award. And I too have been watching you throughout this year. You've become quite a participant, an active participant in our self-advocate discussion series. You've been a discussion starter. You ask great questions and you are always highly engaged. And I love that about you. And I can just feel your passion, and I know how much you want to continue to do. And I know that you noticed that you've been noticed yesterday. And for any of our audience who was unable to join us yesterday or maybe joined in at a different part of our program, but we had a video yesterday from Congressman Jim Langevin. Congressman Langevin is from Rhode Island, and he is a person with a disability. And he said some lovely words, Sarah, about you and your colleague, Jenna, and he really congratulated you. He has also produced that as an actual letter. I think that a copy of it has been sent to you. I'm just showing it here for everybody else so that they know that you have been recognized and called out by Congressman Langevin for your incredible self-advocacy work and so many things that you have done. And are you showing a copy of, oh, yes, I have that one too, Sarah. Sarah's gotten many accolades. She's very popular. So what Sarah is showing you is a certificate of congressional recognition. It was presented today, August 4th, 2021, to Sarah Heather Carmody for receiving the Betty Williams Champion of Equal Opportunity Award from the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities. And it is signed by U.S. Senator from Michigan, Debbie Stabenow. Congratulations, Sarah. But wait, there's more. Sarah, you also received a letter from your state representative, Julie Rogers. The copy I have of it is really kind of small for me to be able to read, but I see you have it and you are sharing that by showing that on your screen. But wait, there's more. We have one more letter for you as well. And this one comes from Senator Gary Peters. Oh, and Sarah's got that one to show you as well. It says, Dear Sarah, congratulations on receiving the NACDD Champion of Equal Opportunity Award from NACDD. Your dedication to self-advocates of Michigan is truly worthy of recognition. I appreciate your tireless commitment to working for positive changes through social media and letter writing campaigns. Thank you for sharing your story with others with disabilities so they too feel empowered to make a difference in their communities as you have done. You are an amazing role model to so many Michiganders. Again, congratulations. What a beautiful letter. Sarah, I hope this really continues to inspire you in your work as a self-advocate and leading others, and just helps you to want to keep doing more with NACDD, more in your local community. And who knows, maybe we'll see you running for national or state level office someday and making the change that you wish to see in the world. So thank you so very much, Sarah, for all that you do and all that we will continue to see from you. So next, I would like to call upon Kristen Vandegrift of the Alaska DD Council to make a presentation to our next honoree of the April Dunn Start Your Journey Award, Jenna Crafton. Kristen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Donna. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce you all to a phenomenal advocate and a great friend, Jenna Crafton, your 2021 April Dunn Start Your Journey Award winner. Jenna began her advocacy work at a young age, living by example and encouraging people with disabilities from all walks of life around the globe to pursue their dreams. At the age of 13, Jenna spent the next 10 years of her life exploring the world with her family by a wind-powered boat. She has traveled to numerous countries around the world, allowing her to gain firsthand knowledge and experience of various cultures and how people with disabilities in other countries experience life. Jenna's story made national news when her family's story was featured on ABC World News with Diane Sawyer and Katie Couric, and made the front page of the Washington Post Sunday newspaper. Jenna has been an active member of the Key Coalition in Alaska, advocating for Alaskans with DD, specifically to eliminate the DD waitlist for waiver services. Her advocacy work has led her to Juneau, where she spoke directly with legislators on this critical matter. Jenna has been on the Alaska DD Council since 2020 and has served as the chair of the DD committee and is now the elected vice chair of the Alaska DD Council. Jenna is also involved in planning disability pride events, participates in the DD Collaborative and the DD Shared Vision. She is on the committee for ECHOS, is a graduate from the LEND Continuing Education Program, and co-facilitates webinars with DD Council staff. She participates in monthly peer support groups called Empower Hour, where she actively engages in conversation with others and encourages them to speak as well. Jenna is frequently featured on public radio and television, speaks for numerous events, leads a Zumba class, and helps others as a lifestyle coach and volunteers in her community. I now am excited to turn the floor over to Jenna to say a few words.
Thanks, you, Kristen, and everybody having me here today. I really enjoy. Thank you for the reward from an NADD and the fellow nominations, and I want to appreciate their hard work and contribution for everybody to get a reward too. And it's great to be on the vice chair for the Governor's Council. My parents is my cheerleaders, and they always motivate me to work harder, work to my dream. My dream is be a first ID senator one day, and we want to have an IDD equals in our community. I want to advocate for all disabilities and have all disabilities to be equal on without a disability too. And we want to hear a voice, and we want to be healed, and I have worked on my strengths, and so my strengths are being a social butterfly. It's kind of hard to be on Zoom. but if I be in person, I'm a social butterfly. I like meeting people. I mean, when I was little, I always meet people in the restaurant and say hi to them, everybody. If you have a dream, go for it. I know it's hard, but it will come true. And always put yourself, I can and I am, and have a super day. And thanks again.
Thank you so much, Jenna. I love that you just said, I am and I can. think that's something that we all need to repeat in our heads regularly. I feel so much your passion and your excitement, and you are definitely a social butterfly. I am so sorry that the pandemic has had to hold you back a bit this year, but if this is you holding back, wow, I can't wait to see what you're going to be like when the world really reopens and you can be out doing your advocacy work and really fully be back in your community. You have been doing so much also for your council and for advocates everywhere, lifting up that voice. And I told you earlier before we started the session today, when you told me that it is your dream someday to run for public office, that I want to be on your campaign committee. You go, girl, because I think that you have such amazing potential. And you clearly have some friends in Congress as well. Just like Sarah, you too have received a number of beautiful letters that I would like to take a moment to share. I mentioned before the letter from Congressman Langevin from Rhode Island, who is the chair of the House Bipartisan Committee on Disabilities. So you received that same letter that Sarah got, congratulating you and thanking you. And then you have 3 other letters that you have received. So I'd quickly like to share those with everybody as well. So you got a letter from Governor Michael Dunleavy from the state of Alaska. Dear Ms. Crafton, congratulations on being awarded the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities April Dunn Start Your Journey Award. This award recognizes and honors up-and-coming advocates who are making big strides in their home state and making a difference in advocacy by branching out to engage national issues. That is exactly what you are doing. The many roles you have played in advancing meaningful, person-direct lives for Alaskans are so impressive. Serving as vice chair of the Governor's Council on Disabilities and Special Education, chairing the Developmental Disability Committee of the Council, participating in the Developmental Disability Collaborative and Shared Vision efforts, volunteering for a multitude of statewide events for persons with disabilities to support their participation, as well as supporting a monthly peer support group. You are to be commended for all of these things, and we celebrate your dedication to improving the lives of Alaskans. Wow, this really outlines how busy you are and all of the ways you are conducting advocacy work in Alaska. We also have a letter for you from Congressman Don Young of Alaska, who says, Dear Jenna, I want to wish you my warmest congratulations on your selection for the April Dunn Start Your Journey Award by the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities. You should be so proud. This award is given to those who actively champion the values of inclusion, self-determination, productivity, and independence within their community. Your extensive advocacy demonstrates not only the clear aim for excellence in your work, but also serves as inspiration to the whole community. You and the work you do represents the values and people of Alaska very well. I know you have received this award because of your exemplary work, and I want to congratulate you once again on your achievement. Thank you for showing that letter, and you probably have the last one that I'm about to share as well, which comes from Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska, who says, Dear Jenna, please accept my heartfelt congratulations for receiving the April Dunn Start Your Journey Award for the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities. This achievement recognizes your excellence in advocacy on behalf of Alaskans living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Thank you for all you do to support your fellow Alaskans. Keep up the great work. So yes, you two have been highly recognized, Jenna, and we see you, we recognize you, and cannot wait to see what you will achieve next, not only in Alaska, but on the national scene. So thank you for all that you are doing and will continue to do. Next, we have a few words from one of our honorees from this event last year, Heidi Lee Williams. She has some words that she would like to share with Sarah and with Jenna. So Heidi, we'd love to hear from you. don't have Heidi. We thought we had Heidi. Okay. If we get Heidi back on, we can always circle back to her. Are we ready to move forward, though, with our other honorees? Terrific. Thank you. Okay, so today I'm also honored and privileged to present awards to two really incredible people to whom we are presenting our CEO National Excellence in Advocacy Awards. This has been a very difficult year for so many of us. This pandemic has really brought some very dark days and difficult times for many people. It's been a challenge for folks to stay healthy and to stay safe. You heard me say earlier how difficult it was for us a year ago March when we lost April Dunn to COVID-19. A very tragic situation that if our world had been different and we had been more prepared, hopefully could have been avoided. We all grew very excited, though. You know, the dark days were starting to end when we learned that vaccines were becoming available. That opened up a new day and a lot of excitement for many of us as we saw a way to protect ourselves and to be able to re-enter community, to go back to jobs, to go back to seeing our families and our friends, to having our caregivers be able to come into our homes and help us so that we can get out and take part in our day. Children could go back to school. Adults could be out in the community because of this wonderful vaccine. But the rollout was slow, and people were having a really hard time getting access to the vaccine, a problem which continues to this day. During this time, NACDD took it upon itself to really get involved and help people understand what's important about the vaccine, to work through any hesitancies that we might have had about the vaccine. But we recognize this is a long process and a difficult challenge. For people with IDD and those who cannot leave their homes, even to get to the vaccine clinic or to their local drugstore, getting vaccine was beginning to seem like a pipe dream for those individuals. But as we were all scratching our heads and trying to figure out how do we solve these problems, there emerged a team of what I will call vaccine angels. I learned about them first as I was on a webinar with the CDC. Some of you may have been on that very same webinar as I was that afternoon, when an amazing person by the name of Tarek Khan, a nurse practitioner in the Philadelphia area, was on giving a presentation. As I listened to Tarek's video and the presentation, I quickly picked up my cell phone and started texting one of my colleagues at the CDC. And I said, "Who is this man? How can I get hold of him? Because he is the voice that we all need right now. What this gentleman is doing is what we need right now to be able to get vaccine and get it to people who otherwise might not be able to get out of their home and to a place where they can get the vaccine." But Tarek wasn't doing this alone. Tarek had formed a partnership with a woman by the name of Anna Puring, a self-advocate and parent of children with IDD, who runs the Chinatown Disability Advocacy Group in the Philadelphia area. She had a brainstorm. Anna was getting calls from people regularly with disabilities who are intersectional with immigrant and other marginalized communities. People wanted to know how they could get the vaccine, and they were looking to her for answers. But many were also individuals who couldn't leave their home and needed vaccine to come to them. That's when Tarek and Anna formed a partnership because they realized that Tarek had access, because of his work in a vaccine clinic, to the vaccine. And Tarek understood that at the end of every day, there was always going to be some vaccine left over. And there were only hours in which that vaccine would still be viable and could be used for somebody else. So this beautiful partnership was formed. Tarek and Anna combined forces, and together they began getting vaccine into the arms of people with disabilities, especially those who are immigrants or who come from multiply marginalized communities. Thus, they created the COVID-19 Health Equity Coalition, I'd like to show you a quick clip of an interview that I led with Tarek and Anna a few months ago after hearing about their work. And the full length of this is posted on our vaccine campaign website, getoutthevaccine.org. Can we see the clip, please?
And so we actually started meeting. We put together a group of professionals that, from different organizations, and we had a couple meetings, and we basically started to talk out and think of ways that we could go about it. And Anna could probably explain a little bit more about how she actually started to reach out and get connections to get names of individuals who were homebound. But, and we can talk a little bit more about this, but it has been infuriating to see that once again, people with disabilities, people with intellectual disabilities are once again left behind. When we talk about that we have access to this vaccine, we don't have access to this vaccine. There's certain groups have access to this vaccine and other groups are unable to get it. And there's no plan to get these individuals vaccinated. And we're here in May, already Nurses Week, and we do not have a plan in a lot of places, counties, states, to get people with disabilities access to the vaccine. So that's sort of the 60,000 foot view. Anna, anything else you want to?
Sure. I'm a disabled Asian American advocate. I'm also a parent of 2 children with multiple disabilities. So this really hits home. And for the past 6 years, I've helped educate immigrants with disabilities who have not been able to get access to health and education, right? So as Tarek mentioned, when vaccines became available, I started getting phone calls from people. How do I get it?
So that was a brief clip. I apologize that cut off rather quickly, but we're going to hear a lot more from Tarek and Anna in person. But I think that gives you an idea of what they've been working on. Tarek and Anna at this time have given hundreds and hundreds of vaccines to people with IDD, family members, and direct support professionals and other caregivers who are living with them. I'd like to have them brought in at this point, please. Is that possible? Wherever you are, presumably somewhere either at home or close to home. We have just been singing your praises. The work that you started last spring. Tarek, you mentioned, I just saw that in the video, it was May when I interviewed you, and at that point you'd been at it for a few weeks, maybe a month or two at that point, maybe a little bit longer. I don't recall the full timeline. But at this point, I'm sure you've gotten to many different homes, and the work that you have done has saved lives, it's changed lives, brought hope to so many people through your incredible advocacy. Your story, I know it was shared on Good Morning America and probably many other places as well. So you really went from being local in your Philadelphia area to becoming an inspiration for our nation, to really light the path and show the way that others too can get hold of vaccine, can work within communities, in particular communities of color, communities with immigrants, to say, we have not forgotten you. We have not left you behind. And in fact, we are going to make sure that you are our priority for this vaccine. I can't thank you enough for inspiring others to become vaccine angels and for the work that you did scheduling appointments every day, driving people to vaccine sites or getting vaccine to the people where they live. I've heard some of your stories. Maybe you'll share a little with us about how many hours you're spending in the car and getting from here to there and tumbling into your own beds late at night, exhausted, but hopefully feeling so good about what you've been able to achieve. For all of this work, I am honored today on behalf of the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities to award you with our NACDD Champions of Equal Opportunity, or CEO Awards, for your incredible and selfless advocacy work. The two of you are role models for our nation, showing the value of each and every life. Everyone is entitled to this vaccine if their doctors say it's safe. We must reach everybody and serve every individual in this nation. It is my distinct pleasure today to present this award to both of you for your work. I thank you for your inspiration. If you have your award handy, there it is. Thank you. I'm glad it arrived unbroken to both of you. I hope you will display it proudly on your shelf or your office. But at this point, I'd like to turn the floor over to you and feel free to share some remarks with our audience today.
Thank you, Donna. One of the cruelest acts is exclusion, because it sends a message that one person's life has less value than another's. Anna Pern and I created the Angel Dose vaccination program with the spirit that until we are all free, none of us are free. Equitable access to vaccinations is healthcare, and healthcare is a basic human right. Throughout the Angel Dose vaccination program, Anna and I have administered exactly 499 shots to people who have been unable to leave their home with good vaccines that would have likely been discarded before they expired. This program was necessary because our government had no plan for people with disabilities, with accessibility issues that lived in their homes. It is the role of elected officials to represent all of us. When people who have been traditionally neglected by our government, including those with developmental disabilities, get left behind once again, advocates like Anna and myself will stand up to fight and to take action. After work and on our days off, Anna and I take these vaccinations to residents in our community who have no other way to get the shots. Residents who should have been vaccinated because they should have been the first in line to get these shots. Like the woman with intellectual disabilities that we vaccinated last week that waited for months to get on a waiting list for any vaccine, and then had 2 providers no-show without phone calls to her home. She has beautiful hair braids, has a peaceful soul, a little dog that didn't bark and was just made the visit wonderful, and is someone who had avoided getting sick twice when her family and her paid caregiver got sick, and she took her shot without flinching. Or the peaceful young man who was nonverbal that we also vaccinated last week. He had waited months to get his shot. His best friend had developmental disabilities and walked over to his house to sit with him while he got his second shot. Sometimes Anna and my advocacy means volunteering for 9 hours after working a full 8-hour day. Like the vaccine that we administered to a man with developmental disabilities, a man who had one of the clearest eyes and one of the most gentle souls. And we had to bring him the shot to his house because he couldn't tolerate wearing a mask. And he was not allowed to a vaccine center without a mask, meaning that he would not be able to stay in his day program. It was a similar story to a woman with intellectual disabilities that couldn't return to her day program after a year of staying home. But it was because of the shot that we were able to give her that she was able to go back. It was also like the woman who had developmental disabilities that was unable to return to work until she could get a shot. And her and her father had tried in vain to get access to this vaccine before we were able to deliver to them. Anna and I will rest when people with disabilities are treated as full citizens by our government. And we must keep holding our public officials accountable, because nothing will change if we accept the status quo as inevitable. And in PA, as it is in other states and territories across the nation, civil rights and true inclusion won't happen if we remain satisfied with the insufficiencies and the mediocrities that are being offered. And it's advocates like Anna who are exactly the type of people to make good trouble with. I am incredibly grateful to join Anna today to be here with you all, to be honored with NACDD's prestigious Champion of Equal Opportunities Award. Congratulations to our fellow awardees today. I am incredibly honored to be recognized with all of you. I thank you all for your work, and I humbly accept this magnificent award. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was so well said, Tarek. Like Tarek, I congratulate Sarah and Jenna. Thank you to NACDD for your generous recognition. Thank you to Optum for the work you're doing and creating this space to lift up our self-advocates. It is an honor and a joy to receive this award with Tarek, who has been fearless. When he has been given an opportunity to be on national TV, he brings up disability inclusion and vaccine equity every single time. And so I really want to take a moment just to thank members of our Health Equity Coalition, like the ARC of Philadelphia, Disability Rights Pennsylvania, members of our PA Developmental Disabilities Council, like Chair Court Wayberg, Jennifer Garman, a member of our Council on Independent Living, Liam Doherty, who is now working for our health department. The fact is, grassroots advocates like me and Tarek succeed because of encouragement and support from NACDD, the CDC, the Administration for Community Living's Allison Barkoff, and leaders like you all over the country who want to make the world better for everyone. And this conference has truly been a celebration of all of your courage, creativity, and teamwork. Whether it's funding for home and community-based services, protecting voting rights, or helping and passing legislation to help our students with disabilities, this conference has really been so powerful. You've been sharing your stories, you've been petitioning, making phone calls, joining with P&A organizations to file complaints. You really leave no stone unturned. And so, just in closing, as we're waking up to new headlines about the Delta variant and now Delta Plus, and terrible opinion pieces about how vaccine mandates are wrong and people with chronic illnesses and disabilities will just have to live at home indefinitely so non-disabled can live free. That's just so wrong. Even now around the country, we're seeing workplaces, health providers, and schools remove the accommodations that the disability community has been asking for, but was never provided to this scale until people without disabilities needed them too. And it's not right. We shouldn't have to fight these fights, but we will. That is our calling. And I'm grateful to NACDD, to everyone here for really committing to building back better, being more inclusive in who we include in these spaces, and making space and really investing in diversifying our movement. And so as folks throughout this week have talked about, we want to include and mentor new leaders, especially Black, Brown, Indigenous, immigrant, refugee, LGBTQIA+, people with different disabilities, people who speak different languages. And I really commend NACDD for continually pushing for inclusion and creating these opportunities for self-advocates, not just to be there for window dressing, but to really become paid staff, the grantees, the grant makers, and someday the CEOs. So thank you again for your continued commitment and fight for freedom, for justice, accessibility, equality, equity. It's never ending. And I know it feels like we're about to go into another wave of the pandemic, but I'm so grateful to this community. We've got to hold on to each other. And thank you so much again to Donna, to all of you for your incredible leadership, and to my partner in crime, Tarek. Thanks so much.
What wonderful words, Tarek and Anna. Thank you so much for leading the way. Thank you for being partners in crime. I hope you have the stamina to keep going, because as you just said to us, Anna, the news out there in the world right now is not as good as we had hoped it would be at this time. We at NACDD will continue to do all that we can to push more people to get the vaccine, to help get the vaccine to people. Our DD councils are working on this collectively every day across every state and territory of our nation, and with whatever supports we can bring them from our national office. I also want to thank the two of you for showing all of us that advocacy comes in many different forms. For some people, advocacy means writing letters to legislators. That's a very important way of advocating and asking for change. For some, it's about being there in person and getting that work done. It might mean going to meetings. It might mean being that social butterfly that Jenna is, and getting to know people in her community. And simply by being herself and active in her community, she is advocating by educating people about people with disabilities and their place in our world. So I want to thank you two again for leading the way, being such incredible advocates, and we look forward to being your partners as well as we continue to get vaccine to everybody that we possibly can, and fighting many other fights along the way. And in particular, as you said, Anna, to address health equity. That is incredibly important to us at NACDD, and we're pleased to be in the fight with all of you. So thank you again for joining us today, Anna and Tarek. I'm so sorry to say that, unfortunately, while Heidi is with us and she can hear those of us who are in this green room, we're unable to hear her. And so we are not able to get that video component to be able to have her share out loud her remarks that she wanted to share with all of the awardees today. So hopefully we can get those from her in writing and share them out with our awardees today. But once again, on behalf of NACDD, I want to congratulate Sarah and Jenna and Tarek and Anna for all of your incredible work, for keeping us inspired and motivated and moving on despite the pandemic, despite anything that has stumbled or put a stumbling block in our way. We will all keep moving forward. To all of you out there who are doing advocacy work in your local communities with your DD Council at the state level or the national level, please stay engaged with us. We love having your participation. Self-advocacy is it's the most important thing that we can be doing when we advocate for ourselves, advocate for others, and advocate to make systems work better, to be more inclusive. We all win. With that, I'm going to thank everybody for joining in this awards ceremony celebration. We will be taking a short break, and then we will be coming back together for a beautiful panel of self-advocates that will be led by Eric Stoker of our National Board of Directors and the Utah DD Council. So please take a quick break, and we will see you back here shortly. Thank you so much. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a great break, and welcome back so that we can have a great next part of our program today, where we are going to have a wonderful panel of self-advocates from DD councils across the country. Initially, Pat Noby with Anthem, who is our sponsor for this afternoon's program, was going to say a few words of welcome, and sadly, we're unable to get her into the green room right now. So she has sent me some notes that she would like me to share with you. So she says, "Hi, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Self-Advocates Discussion Series session, which Anthem was a proud sponsor of. I was able to participate in many of the sessions over the past year, which were held nearly each month on Zoom. And here are a couple of my takeaways. First, what a wonderful thing to have advocates participating from Guam to Maine. Each month we have between 50 and 70 participants. Second, the topics were covered were so important and impactful. Voting rights and experiences, COVID protections and vaccine access, NACDD's public policy agenda, and sessions on how to be a better advocate. Although I have to say there isn't much room for improvement, participants were active, engaged, interested, and informed. Third, it was really helpful for us on the healthcare side to hear directly from people on the receiving end of services. And we are thinking of ways we can share this feedback and these perspectives with our associates. I want to thank NACDD for presenting this idea and opportunity. Angela Castillo-Epps for her great preparation for all of the sessions and her moderating, which was at times challenging because of the energy and interest of all of the participants. Robin for supporting online, and Eric Stoker for guiding the agenda and hosting each session. It was a great experience for me, and we look forward to the next step in this activity. So thank you so much, Pat. I'm so sorry, and I hope you'll still be able to get in and join our program as we move on. But folks, I do want to let you know that our self-advocate discussion series, which has been, as you just heard, a huge hit over this last year. It's been a great opportunity, and we are planning to continue it with Anthem's support into the next year. So you'll be hearing more about the future of our essay discussion series soon. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Eric Stoker, who many of you know. Eric Stoker is a specialist, a public information specialist with the Utah DD Council, and serves on our national board of directors. And Eric is going to moderate and lead our panel today. So Eric, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Donna, for that wonderful introduction. And good afternoon and good morning to all of you out watching us live today in the across the United States and like in Guam and Puerto Rico and all the countries. As Donna mentioned, my name is Eric Stoker, and I'm the information specialist for the Utah Developmental Disabilities Council. And welcome to our self-advocacy panel. I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. Our panelists for today, we have Will Farrior from the South Carolina Developmental Disabilities Council staff. We have Lauren Gerken from the Texas Developmental Disabilities Council staff. We have with us today Lindsey Spoon from the Oklahoma Developmental Disabilities Council, who is a member. And we also have with us today Robert O'Mallon, who is a Developmental Disabilities Council member from Guam. And I really appreciate Will, Lauren, Lindsey, and Robert for taking the time out of their busy schedules to be on our panel today. And we are going to go ahead and get started. And so my first question is, tell me briefly about your background and how you came to work with the DD Council. Like, did someone or something inspire you to become an advocate? And I'm going to start with you, Lauren, on that first question, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Eric. So my background really started from the fact that I am a disabled adult. I have cerebral palsy, and as I grew up and started to see, the importance of advocacy and having the voice of a person with a disability speaking up for themselves. So in undergrad, I decided to really get into the advocacy world and start learning about policy. And I got my master's in disability studies. in my first introduction into the NACDD Council was I got a job as a policy fellow under one of their grants with the Oak of Texas. And I really fell in love with the policy and the work that I was doing, working with other self-advocates, working with other professionals, and I was so excited to have the opportunity to join DTDD as a staff member because I already had some idea into the work that they were doing. And I was really drawn into the innovation, what DTDD does, and the impact that they have. Not only on me, but on people all across the state. And so, I jumped at the chance to join the council as a staff member. And it's really been a wonderful experience so far.
That's awesome, Lauren. Will, Lindsey, or Robert, do you guys want to go? Whoever wants to go next? You guys want to go next, or who wants to go next?
I will take that up.
Lindsey?
So how I came about in advocacy is I also have CP, which is the shorthand for cerebral palsy. And I went to one of my high school transition fairs and started and met this wonderful, amazing, crazy person who was now our executive director on the Oklahoma Developmental Disabilities Council named Jennifer Randall. And she taught me about this program that is the Youth Leadership Forum, or YLF. Completely changed my life. I cried every single day of that program because of how life-changing it was. And I truly changed for the better because of that program. And that's how I got to work with the council and everything, and became a council member in 2019, and will be working with them until 2024.
That's very cool, Lindsey. Will or Robert, who wants to go next?
I'll go. Thank you again for Eric for having me. My introduction to the South Carolina Developmental Disabilities Council began when I graduated from college. I took a business trip with one of our grantees, and she started asking me what were my goals at that time. I informed her that my goal was to help young adults with disabilities transition from high school to whatever their hearts desire. Overall, I wanted to make their transition a lot smoother with the right resources, since I didn't have the navigation in my life. I have autism.
That's awesome. Well, Robert, do you have an answer for question 1?
Half a day. Good morning from Guam, which is way in the future, tomorrow. As stated in the biography I provided, I was previously able to work through placement by the local Guam Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. I've always enjoyed working, and I believe that people with disabilities should have more opportunities to be employed. I want to share my personal work and life experience to better inform the public about the contributions that can be made by all people who look for gainful employment. I have known Jermaine, who is our current DD Council Director, for many years. In 2019, when the Council was looking for new members to take over for members whose terms were expiring, Jermaine and I spoke about me joining the council. I saw this as a chance to have a louder voice to speak about disability issues and learn more for myself about some of the ways to help make the changes that are needed.
That's awesome, Robert. Thank you. Alrighty, so the next question I have for the panelists is, what do you think is society's #1 misconception about people with disabilities, and do you think that your advocacy has helped change people's perceptions? Who would like to start us off? Lauren, do you want to go first? Or Will, do you want to go next? You want to go first?
I'll just start it off.
Okay.
The number one misconception that society has about people with disabilities is that we are trained to see the physical and not the person as a human being. Also, we assume just because we can't see the physical, Also, we assume just because we can't physically see their disability, they don't actually have one. Overall, it's like the quote, it's more than what meets the eye as a person.
That's very true, Will. Lindsey, Robert, or Lauren, who wants to go next?
I can go.
All right, go, Lauren.
So, I'm basing it on personal experience as well as the discussions that I've had with other folks, particularly with visual disabilities that people can see. I think there's a misconception that we are childlike and vulnerable. I hear the word vulnerable quite a bit in advocacy work. We have to protect the most vulnerable population, and for me, from my understanding, the disability community is incredibly resilient and very strong and determined, and I think people tend to ignore that or just aren't aware of that entirely. The things that we have overcome from an environmental perspective, right? We live in a world that is not designed for us. It is not particularly welcoming to people with disabilities, and we are constantly working against that to remind people we're here, we belong here, and we are valuable members of society. So I'm not a fan of the concept that we're vulnerable or weak, because we really aren't when you sit down and look at who we are as people and what we've accomplished. So I would really like to see a shift in perspective from, we have to save you and protect you and keep you from working in relationships because you might get hurt, to I'm gonna trust you as a person to take the dignity of risk and navigate your life. And I think from an advocacy perspective, I think we've come quite a way in that idea, and I'm seeing it more, in the last 5 years. But whenever I go out and I'm doing work at the Capitol or something, I remind people I am not here to make you feel better about yourself. I am not weak. I don't need you to protect me. I need you to listen to me and my community because we know what we need. So I think I'm seeing some progress in Texas and at a national level. And I would really like to see that conversation expand as we go forward.
I agree with you on that one, Lauren. Lindsey or Robert, do you guys have an answer for question 2?
I will just go, and I agree with my fellow colleagues. Will, Lauren, you bring up valid points. I think another thing is oftentimes friends and people see us as just a person that they feel like they have to take care of. And they don't even, especially if we have a physical disability, they don't even want to, take the time to get to know us on a deeper personal level to develop that connection, because we're just seen as not valued members of society, like Lauren already said. And, what more than meets the eye, to Will's point. But I have been attending these sessions day in and day out, and I started with the Monday session. And we saw Emily. If you guys were here, Emily was fantastic. I truly enjoyed getting to know her and hearing her speak. And I asked her a question: what advice do you have for young self-advocates who want to affect change on a political and national level? And she said, not being afraid to assert your disability in your everyday life. And oftentimes, I think we are afraid to insert our disability in our everyday lives because we're worried about what people will look at, how people will look at us, and what the things people will say at us. But the haters are going to hate. And if you want to move toward change and make change, such as this conference is the name of, moving toward change, you're going to have to insert your disability in your everyday life. And that's the one common misconception that I feel all people, not just people in the disability community, but the people outside of our community as well. That's one of my main misconceptions that I feel.
I'm with you there on that one, Lindsey. What about you, Robert? What do you think is society's number one misconception about people with disabilities? What do you think?
I think people still sees us and wants to treat us like little children, because we speak, act, or think differently. I think the characters makes us different are the exact reasons why people with disabilities have so much more to contribute than what most people with disabilities have so much more to, has more disability, acts or thinks the same. Being different is not a negative thing to me, and I think that's why society thinks of people with disabilities.
I'm with you on that one, Robert. Alrighty, so my next question I have for the panelists is, we just celebrated the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. How do you think the Americans with Disabilities Act has been most successful, and where do you think it falls short? And who would like to start us off?
I will. I mean, congrats to the ADA for turning 31. You are a tremendous piece of legislation. You provide access to so many people that have disabilities, not just myself included, but not just me. And it provides access, but the access it provides is not clearly defined. So oftentimes when there are instances of people not giving us what we need, and those I'm forgetting the word for it, but there's not often held up repercussions for those who mistreat us, and so yeah, and so that's the penalties aren't enforced. Thank you, Mother. The penalties aren't being enforced, and yeah, that's one of the barriers, but it creates access for so many billions of Americans, and it just needs to be more clearly defined so those issues don't happen. And when they do happen, we need to have better opportunities to strive towards change. So
that's a good answer, Lindsey. I like that answer a lot. Will, Lauren, or Robert, do you guys have anything to add to question 3?
Congratulations, 80. Happy birthday, 88, on your 31st birthday. I think the ADA has certainly allowed more opportunities for employment and other services which should be available to everyone with or without a disability, and making it mandatory to provide reasonable accommodations has provided more physical accessibility in many public spaces. But the ADA has not solved all the issues. There are still many things wrong with transportation services. I understand that things are better than they were 15 or 20 years ago, but transportation is still a problem on a daily basis, especially with scheduling. Travel routes are not always efficient, wait times are often long, and overall services are not always reliable. I understand this is not entirely the fault of the ADA policies, but rather many factors, and local laws should be created to help fix those problems.
That's true, Robert. Will, or Lauren, who wants to go next?
Lauren would like to go next.
I think I think one of the biggest issues with policies like the ADA is I think people view it as a one and done solution. Like, oh, we passed the ADA, so now ableism isn't an issue anymore, right? We fixed it, yay! But the way I view any policy, any legislation, and it's really meant to be a living, breathing document that people can go back into and change and make it better over time. And I think we have fallen short in really revisiting the ADA and keeping it up to date. As we go forward, I mean, I was 4 years old when the ADA was, it came out 4 years before I was born. And I know that in the time that I've been alive, everything has changed so much, right? Technology has changed, transportation has changed, but I haven't seen the ADA change as much as the environment that we're in. So I would really love to see people revisiting it more, bringing it up to date, and really looking at a diversity of disability needs. There are things in there where a building can be ADA compliant, but not meet the needs of everybody with a disability, right? In my opinion, putting a handicap entrance in the back of the building next to the garbage is not really an acceptable solution, but it is ADA compliant, right? It's like going to the back of the bus. We shouldn't have to enter into the back of the building to get into the building. We should be able to go in the front door like everybody else. And that is the adaptation that I think needs to be made as we realize it's not just about band-aid solutions. It's about integrating the human side of disability life and disability access in everything that we're doing. And it should be an ongoing healthy conversation as we go forward as a society.
That is a really good answer, Lauren. Will, did you have something to say for question number 3?
Yes. Just like I look at it for the ADA, again, happy birthday to the ADA. The one thing I've learned about the ADA in the disability community, it's like us as a human being and like a building. You have to always update it, and continue to work at it. And that's where like it needs to. That's where the lawmakers and self advocates like ourselves have to continue to chip and update it and learn it, even if we don't understand every piece of legislation. It's those that are around us to help us, our support staff, ourselves to take the initiative. But all that's where it falls short. It just needs to be more updated for not just for lawmakers, but for across the board. And the way the most successful part of the ADA is having the accommodations and accessibility to include everyone starting at the age of infancy going into adulthood. As an example, the ADA has made it possible for buildings and parks and other locations to be accessible in the accommodations by requiring those places to have ramps, accessible bathrooms, and accessible transit. Another example is it allows those individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities to have the accommodations to do their jobs to their best ability by using assistive technology such as Zoom text, and Echo Pen and voice text.
Do you want to add something else to question 3, Lindsey?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
That was actually what I was getting ready to ask you. Apparently, you can tell by my facial expression, so thank you. And I do agree with Lauren and with Will, but more specifically with Lauren. I mean, the ADA is 31 years old, and it's 2021. There is no reason why we should still be fighting for access for people that has disabilities. And traditional, some of the original self-advocates such as Judy Heumann, Ed Roberts, you saw once they got the ADA passed, they are still fighting. They continue to fight. They are still fighting. And that's what we need to do to make sure we still have access. And the people that will go on before us still have access. So that they're not having to fight this in their generation, and so on and so forth. So it's a continuous fight, but it's a good fight. So fight the good fight, because the people united will never be divided. And I learned that from Jennifer Keelan Chaffins, also one of the original self-advocates who participated in the Capitol crawl to get the ADA passed.
That is a really good answer, Lindsey. And yes, we are still fighting for people with disabilities, and the fight continues and stuff. Alrighty, so my next question is, the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities works hard to provide opportunities for self-advocates to develop leadership and advocacy skills. One new way we did that this year was through our monthly self-advocate discussion series. Have you participated in the self-advocacy discussion series? And if so, how has it helped you as an advocate? And I know you, Lindsey, and Will have been on it before. And Lauren, have you been on it before, the NACDD discussion series before? Awesome. So the question is, have you participated in this? And you guys have both been on, which I've seen. How has it helped you to be an advocate?
Having the opportunity to participate in different leadership series from TIA or speaking on panels about advocacy events are taking place in South Carolina has helped me learn more about what other councils are doing in other states and territories. In addition, it's helped self-advocates like me continue to grow on boards and committees. In addition, it's helped me continue to grow on boards and committees that we sit on. Also, other ways that the NACDD can help people with ID and DD be successful and self-advocates is continuously putting us in positions that allow us to share our thoughts and ideas on different platforms via social media, in person, virtual, federal, or state level.
So, Lindsey or Lauren, how has the discussion series helped you become an advocate?
I do agree with Will. I mean, how I got involved with the NACDD is by actually attending the self-advocacy discussion group. That's how I first heard about it. And it's completely changed my life, gave me friends, gave me avenues, and it's the reason why I'm sitting on this panel today. It's helped keep the discussion going around important issues such as COVID, how we can affect change politically, different things like that. I mean, Angela, not Robin. Robin does a great job with it too, but Angela does a great job with it. And if you want more information, definitely reach out to either Donna, Robin, Angela, about the self-advocacy discussion series, because we need new people and we need new voices, because you have to continue to use your voice, because no one's going to fight for you unless it's you. I mean, our families aren't going to be around forever. And, so we have to stand up and we have to use our voice, because no one's going to do it for us.
That's exactly true, Lindsey. I agree. And the discussion series, in my perspective, I'm going to jump in real quick because I know I'm the moderator. But also for me, basically, I love the discussion series. Every time I moderate it or whatever, it's so much fun to hear from the other self-advocates. And it's like what Lindsey said, make new friends and just be with everybody and interact and just talk about topics that they're having stuff and make new friends and stuff like you mentioned, Lindsey. And please, people, if you have someone, have them come and join us. It's really fun. So, Lauren, I know you said you were on the discussion series. How has it helped you to become an advocate?
Yeah, so to clarify, I've listened in on a couple, and I just, it's important that I learned in my master's program that I'm a person with a disability and I know what my life has been like, but I can't be a good advocate if all I'm advocating for and from my perspective and my life. Disability and so diverse. Our backgrounds are so diverse. Our families are support systems. So for me, it's really important to put myself in an environment where I can hear what other people have been going through throughout their lives, and to hear, I don't know what it's like to be a person with autism. I don't know what it's like to have Down syndrome. So I need to put myself in spaces where I can listen to other people and learn, so that when I go and carry out, policies and so that I have other voices beyond myself in mind. If we pass policies and legislation from Lauren Gerken, a 27-year-old LGBTQ woman with cerebral palsy per spectrum, you are going to keep out everybody else. And that would be a very limited policy, and it would help me, but it won't help everybody else. So hearing from everybody else is so important to me in my work.
That's awesome, Lauren. So my follow-up question, so I have another question for you guys. So Are there other ways that the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities can help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities be successful self-advocates? Does anyone want to start us off with that answer to that question?
Even though this is my first time, I have not attended the self-advocate discussion series. The time difference between Guam and the mainland U.S. Makes it hard as it takes place during early morning hours Guam time. But I believe that any chance to hear the experiences and stories from other self-advocates help us tremendously to become better advocates ourselves. This helps us understand and accept that there are other people who go through the same thing we do. They face the same problems and the same disappointments. On the other hand, they share the same positive outcomes and the same successes. It is always good to know that others go through what I go through, whether it is good or bad. The support NACDD currently provides is very helpful, but it is hard for me to think of what kind of other supports are needed overall because things that motivate a self-advocate to be effective will be different from person to person. For me personally, I will appreciate the opportunity for more events and interactions to take place in person. I like meeting people face to face, but I understand that this is not always the case for everyone else.
I'm with you, Robert. I miss meeting people face to face as well, though. I'm with you there, though. So, Will, Lauren, or Lindsey, are there other ways that the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities can help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities be more successful self-advocates? Do you guys have any ideas?
I think just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, and keep pushing and keep, spreading awareness because, awareness about these types of things and awareness about different issues is going to greatly be effective in, the call to action and honestly. But just keep in mind as we're up here doing this panel, and even during the last question, like Lauren said, you're not going to know everybody's story. You are just one part of the story. That's why we need everybody involved in advocacy, because we're not going to have other people's stories. We're just one person living with a whatever disability it is. In my case, it's cerebral palsy, but sharing is important. So keep on sharing, keep on living, keep on raising your voice.
I have to agree with Lindsey. Everything she said. Just keep sharing. No resource is too small or too big to share to millions of people out there.
I'll just add, I think, to me, there are two key things that we need to work on in the self-advocacy fight and realm. The first thing is working with parents and families of people with disabilities to be more comfortable with the concept of self-advocacy. I'm really lucky. I grew up with two parents who said, we are gonna take care of you, as a kid for your life, but you're gonna go to college and you're gonna live independently and you're gonna get married if you want to. So I grew up with that very natural sense of self-advocacy. It also helps that I have always been very sassy and very outspoken. But I also
girl, me too.
I've also imagined my parents who aren't comfortable with the concept of self-advocacy and don't want to put their loved ones in a position where they can get hurt. So having those healthy conversations between self-advocates and families and say, it's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be hesitant. But let's work through it together, and then take that next step. And honestly, getting more self-advocates out to the public is extremely important. Most of the self-advocacy conversations I participate in are kind of preaching in the choir of it, for lack of a better term. And, you know, we need to get out to the people who don't know anything about this and don't have extensive experience with disability and say, hey, let's talk about this. What are you uncomfortable? What concerns do you have? And let's work on that together. So those are my two, next step kind of thoughts that I have on where self-advocacy can go with NACDD from here.
Great answers, all of you guys. Thank you so much. The final question I have is, how has COVID-19 impacted self-advocates and self-advocates? And after getting your vaccine, did you encourage other self-advocates to get their vaccine? And tell us how you convinced them. Who would like to start us off?
I would.
Go ahead, Lindsey.
I waited 3 months to get mine. 3 months. And the only reason why I got one is my Oklahoma's ARC and the Center for Physical Challenges, which is a building that has all kind of inclusive sports and classes for people that have physical disabilities, opened it for self-advocates and their caretakers, family members. So that was the only reason why I was allowed to get mine. And it's just, and we're at higher risk to contract COVID because of our comorbidities and disabilities. So it's really a disservice. And I was actually able to be on our local TV station because that they happened to be there that day. And my mom said, hey, there's a TV camera. Do you want to go and speak to them? Do you want to go and ask them if they would like somebody who actually has lived experience, who's actually receiving this vaccine today, and what their thoughts are about it? And I said, sure. I mean, I jumped on the opportunity for that because obviously I'm not a shy person at all. If any of you guys know me, I'm not shy at all. So I jumped at the opportunity, and not being afraid to make changes, and not being afraid to actually create opportunities for yourself. And hopefully that has been able to encourage more people to get their vaccine. But I know some people aren't gonna get it, and that's their choice. Everybody has a choice to get or not get the vaccine. Do your research, make your mind up for yourself, and yeah, so.
That's an awesome answer, Lindsey. Will, Lauren, or Robert, what about you guys?
Throughout the pandemic, our council and many other organizations have not met face to face. It has been difficult to get fully involved or excited because in-person interaction is just not the same as virtual. I also believe that COVID-19 has made us focus on issues and things that we previously thought were minor. I chose to get vaccinated because I want to be safe and protected from the virus. Although I decided to get my shot and wish that others would do the same, I also think that people should decide for themselves. I know people who have their own personal reasons for not getting vaccinated. I do not have to agree with their reason, but I respect their right to make that choice. I can speak for everyone when I say that the pandemic has taught me how to use Zoom and other digital meeting platforms. The term "you are on mute" is probably forever in everyone's vocabulary.
That's awesome, Robert. Lauren or Will?
Yeah. So we just had a legislative session from January to May, and then we had a special session, and in the beginning of it was very weird. I'm very used to being at the Capitol, having meetings all the time with different legislators, and working with other self-advocates who don't have as much experience being at the Capitol and kind of want to get into advocacy, coming in and learning about it. And that didn't happen very much. And I was lucky enough to get my vaccine in March, which is kind of like the halfway point session, but that is also when the balls really start rolling. So in March in our session we have all the committee meetings on different bills. So because I got my vaccine, I started to actually go to the Capitol. Because while we had virtual options to submit comment, there is something to be said for sitting there in person and being like, hey, this is me, I'm a human being, and this is what's going on. So I took advantage of having the vaccine and being able to go do that. But it was very strange. The Capitol was very empty, and then typical self-advocates that are there that I get to collaborate with were not there because they weren't able to get the vaccine in time. So it was, a lot of the same 4 people will come, covering on the committees. And yeah, I mean, when I got the vaccine, I do kind of have that perspective of it is everybody's choice. But ultimately, like, hey, I did it and nothing bad happened. And I think that early there were, concerns about, okay, what's gonna happen? What are the side effects? Should I do this? And so I was able to say, I did it. It sucked for a day. I felt like I got hit by a truck. But it also meant that I felt comfortable getting up and going to the Capitol and having those face-to-face interactions. And I don't know what impact my vaccine had on other folks. The biggest impact I think was when I went to get my vaccine. I went in, on my own. Although somebody did drive me in case of, side effects or whatever. And the people working at the vaccine site, I think I impacted how they would interact with people with disabilities going forward, because I was able to say, like, no, you shouldn't talk to people quite like that. I'm here by myself, and that's okay. Like, I'm an independent person. So, I was able to kind of get rid of some misconceptions that were going on. And I would get anybody, I mean, it was a huge vaccine site, so anybody there were able to see, oh, there's a person with a very obvious disability coming in on their own, getting their vaccine. So I do, like Lindsey said, I kind of embrace my disability in everything that I do and kind of look at the little things as advocacy opportunities. And I definitely took advantage of the vaccine process to be one of those, to educate people as I went along.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Lauren. What about you, Will?
COVID-19 has impacted self-advocacy in a form of a Rubik's Cube. The first piece of the Rubik's Cube is learning technology and how do we envision everyone using and getting it into rural areas. Also adjusting to the unlimited possibilities of technical issues we could face. The second piece would be how they would use it in new way of learning and operating their everyday lives. The third piece would consist of how one provider supports to those self-advocates and their families in rural areas of resource, information, and health. The fourth piece would be how to meet those self-advocates where they are at in their life. And as an example, how do we help those cope with the big social interaction to none at all? The fifth piece is the future. How does the transition look for us as a community moving forward as we begin those stages out of COVID-19? The final piece to the Rubik's Cube, it allowed us to look at new and different ways to tackle issues in the disability community as a whole society, starting with the federal government all the way to the local government.
I like that answer, Will. All right, so now we're going to open this up for a few questions from our audience, and it looks like we have 2 questions in the chat. The first question I'm seeing right here is, if you could help draft legislation to affect the disability community, what would it be? Does anyone want to answer that?
I'll go. If I could draft, I would want to work on the ADA and see where it needs to be updated for this generation. Where because as we have evolved in technology, academics, all different parts of area, what pieces are missing, what needs to be, I wouldn't say deleted, but reconfigured to meet the needs of everyone, not just starting actually on the infancy level and taking that data quote from parents, supporters, even those in those professions to what they see on an everyday basis, and then gradually work our way up. So.
I like that. Well, Lindsey, Lauren, or Robert, if you could help draft legislation to affect the disability community, what would it be?
I think one of the hot button topics right now is income limits and Medicaid, Social Security. So I know that they're looking at that at the federal level, but if I could address anything, it would really be a piece of legislation that really supported the concept of marriage equality, which I know a lot of people attribute that to the LGBTQ community, but it's a conversation in the disability community as well. Many people with disabilities can't actually get married or even live together, because if they do, they will lose their Social Security benefits that help them live. And in Texas, when you lose SSI, you lose Medicaid as well. So, I think I would want to work with experts, work with people who have gone through it, and find out what exactly that piece of legislation needs to say, but having something in the end that says, people can get married and live happily together with benefits and not lose them. And that's the spirit of marriage equality.
I agree, Lauren. Lindsey or Robert?
Well, I'll go on that. I actually don't know what my piece of legislation would be, but I know I want to work with my legislator to kind of revamp their style and their mindset of disability. And I've been on regular contact with my legislators. And they've, they come to me whenever, they see bills and been like, what do you think of this? I think it's a bad bill. I don't support this. I don't support that. I mean, or I do support this and I support this. Why? So that's another thing. COVID has really fostered relationships, and especially from all different sides, all different parties, and made people more likely to listen to us and listen to our voice and take our voice into account. But I actually want to, in the future, run for office, and so I'm sure that I'm going to put my name on a number of bills. But as of right now, I don't know what my number one piece of, if I could actually draft legislation, what it would be.
It's tough. I know that, Lindsey. What about you, Robert?
Don't want to answer that.
You're good. No worries. Thanks for letting me know. Alrighty, guys. So another question popped up. As a society, we should be getting better, not back to normal. How do we advocates do that?
Well, I think it might be easier to actually hold people accountable now. One of the things that we're all kind of looking at is the work from home option. And I know people who, if they could work from home, employment wouldn't be an issue because they would begin to barrier to employment and transporting themselves to a location. And they have been told their whole life, well, we can't do that. We can't have people work from home because nobody gets anything done from home. Well, we've been doing it for about a year and a half, and it's working. So I think now when people have that response, we can come back and say, actually, I know that y'all have been working from home, and I know that your company didn't think, so you can do it. And now it should be considered a very reasonable accommodation. And just not let people move on from the conversations that we've been having. We've been having some very deep, emotionally charged conversations, and I know that when things open back up, people are going to want to forget, but we have to use our platform to say, it might be going back to normal for you, but I'm still in isolation because, of transportation, societal barriers. I can't get into that building because, they haven't made it accessible yet. So, reminding people, that isolation that you felt during COVID, that's my normal. And let's change that and make it better. And I stole that from somebody that I follow on Instagram, but I think she made a really good point. So.
Yeah, and I do agree with Lauren on that. When COVID, COVID was still going on when this happened. And so they were remodeling my parking lot to my work, and they actually tore down the only one at the time handicap accessible entrance while I was inside the building. So they had to off-road me, and the construction workers actually had to push me onto the street. And, not letting that, accident fall through. It was an accident. And my mom contacted the city council, and they were like, "Oh, we're so sorry, we'll get that fixed." And they got it fixed within 24 hours. So having that accountability is saying, isolation and everything, and, being our normal for access, and, just reminding people what access is for our normal and everything. So
Anybody else have an answer to that question? Does the audience have any other questions for our panelists?
There was one question from Sydney, and I feel like it was directed at me, but I'm not sure about how was I able to go into the Capitol if it was closed to the public. And I can answer that really quick. So, Texas kind of does its own thing, where it wasn't completely closed to the public. When it closed to the public, that meant, there were no tours, there were no guided tours, but people were still able to come in on legislative business. And so, if you had a meeting scheduled with an office, and there was a public hearing, you could go. You did have to get tested for COVID. They had tents out front with rapid tests, and come up negative, and you would get a band on your reg that indicated that you were negative. Or if you had the vaccine, you could just show your vaccination card and then go in. That's how I ended up going. Because I did not go until I was fully vaccinated.
That is very true, Lauren. So it looks like I'm. Oh, go ahead, Lindsey.
Actually, Eric, I will also answer that question. Okay. And Oklahoma, I'm not sure what they did. It's not coming to mind at the moment. But we had a lot of, during DD Day, we had a series of Zoom sessions Oklahoma did with several lawmakers in our area, telling them about issues and educating them on issues that were important to us. Whenever I saw bills, that would affect me in a good way or a negative way, I sent it out to every single one of my legislators and bugged the ever-living snot out of them and said, this is a bad bill, this is a good bill. And just fostering those relationships has really made it easier because of COVID with our legislators, at least for me. Just having those opportunities for connecting and having relationships with our legislators because of COVID has really helped me and will help me in the future because it gave me new allies. So don't be afraid to stand up and use your voice for what you believe in. Find the beauty in advocacy.
That's exactly true, Lindsey. Will or Robert, anyone else want to share last minute comments and stuff before we wrap up, before I send it over to Donna?
Again, thank you for having us. Continue the great work, Eric, Lindsey, Robert, Lauren. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure, Will. Okay, so I don't see any other questions here in the chat. I just wanted to say thank you to Will and Lindsey, Robert, and Lauren for agreeing to be on this panel with us today. And now I am going to turn it back over to Donna, who's going to introduce Pat Noby. And thank you so much for listening to our panel. And
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The floor is yours, Donna.
Thank you so much, Eric. I want to thank this entire panel for a really wonderful presentation. You guys each had such great thoughts and ideas. I was listening intently and taking notes on things that NACDD can continue to do either more of or better at, supporting self-advocates. And it sounds like you have just some great ways that you are continuing. I'm being told that I'm muted. If somebody could fix that. Nope, you can hear me. Okay, thank you. So you guys have some great thoughts and ideas and wonderful things that you can add to your agenda for self-advocacy. We are here to support you and to listen to you. So I am seeing in the chat that Pat is here with us and wanted to say hello. Is that correct? There she is. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, everybody. So I apologize for not figuring out how to get on at the beginning of the session, but I was really glad to be able to listen to most of it. So I just wanted to say thank you to Donna and NACDD for giving Anthem the opportunity to sponsor the self-advocacy discussion series. I was able to participate in most of the sessions, and I just wanted to mention a couple of takeaways. So first, it was just really wonderful to see advocates get online from Guam to Maine, across the entire country. Every session there were between 50 and 70 participants, which was really wonderful. And a lot of people were able to join most of the sessions, so that made for really great continuity in the discussions. And second, the topics that you guys covered were so impactful. You know, just voting rights and the advocacy movements that were occurring in the country, COVID and vaccination, employment options, and how to be better self-advocates. Although I have to say, y'all are really cooking with gas when it comes to that. I'm just really impressed with how well-informed everyone is and how able you are to share with each other. And then, you know, during COVID, I think it was really important for people to have a way to connect with each other and stay in touch because we all were pretty isolated, and that is still happening. And so I think that being able to connect like this is really, really important. And then especially for us on the healthcare side, it's really great takeaways for us to hear, you know, what it's like out there in the community, the things that you are concerned about and the gaps and needs that different communities have. And that's information that I've been sharing with our leadership on the Anthem side so that, you know, we can think about how we can do things better when we're providing healthcare and services and supports to folks. So I want to just thank Angela, especially for preparing everybody so well for the session, sending out information ahead of time, and Robin for helping to keep everybody connected. Eric is a wonderful host, and all of you that participated. I really, really the next steps will be.
Thank you so much, Pat, for those words. And again, thanks to you and to Anthem for supporting our work at NACDD as we continue to support self-advocates who want to do more and really carry their self-advocacy work forward. We're so grateful for your support. So that wraps up our program for today, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. And again, thank you to Eric Stoker for being a fantastic moderator, and to this incredible panel of self-advocates who really shared so many thoughts and ideas with us today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for our final day of our conference, where we will be talking about innovations and all those things that come next in our world. So please join us again tomorrow right here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.